If you're over 40 and a content creator, or maybe not, and you've been contemplating getting a new phone, stop scrolling, because I'm going to tell you exactly what I went through and why I made the choice that I did. So keep watching if you want to find out what I ended up with and why. I'm going to save you money, frustration, and a return trip to the Apple Store. Here's why I didn't buy the 17 Pro Max and why the 17 Pro is the smartest upgrade this year. I've had an iPhone 13 for, at least 4 years, probably over 4 years now. And in fact, this is my first iPhone I've ever had. I'm an Android guy, or was. And so, I used to have the Samsung Galaxy Note series. And, with my business, what I do, I'm still working, I'm still in the field. I'm a salesperson selling beauty supplies to salons. And what I used to do is I used to take my phone and take the stylus out, and I would write down what my customers needed. And so I did that for many, many years, and I just thought it was invaluable, indispensable. And I was probably one of the only people using the Note for that reason. And so, I've been contemplating trying Apple, and I went, I was also a PC user for many years. And, when I got the blue screen of death, the very last time I decided, that's it. I'm going to try Apple and see how that works. Well, that's been quite a few years now. I've been using a Mac or iMac or MacBook Air. I've had quite a few different ones, but I just love the Apple system. And I don't like how they box you in, and you have to pay, the higher pricing. But, those are the drawbacks of being with Apple. But, the pros far outweigh the cons. And I will just tell you that when you buy an Apple product, you are getting something that's well thought out, everything was made to work together. And that's not always the case with, when you buy an Android phone, because although the Android system is very popular, but you have so many different manufacturers making Android. So they're all kind of different. And, when you start piecing these things together, there's some things that just don't work well. And I will tell you, I've never had any issues with, with anything attacking my phone. What do you call it? Spam, or not? I mean, not spam, but viruses. I've never had that issue with my Mac or my phone. And so this is one of the reasons why when I decided to go with the iPhone 13, and why did I not go with, anything larger? Well, for one, I didn't know if I was going to like it. And so I didn't want to spend the money. And at the time, I think I bought it at Costco, and, they did not have the payment, the installment plan like most other carriers have. So I bought my phone outright, and, I actually, I thought I got a decent deal. It was, a little bit better deal at Costco, but I paid for it. And I want to say I paid $800 and something for this, which compared to what other people were paying at the time, like $1,100, $1,200 and up for phones. This was, I thought, not going to be a deal breaker. It was affordable, even though, I usually don't like to pay cash for my phones right up front, because, why not be on the installment plan if you can just pay monthly and not have to be charged any interest. So I just thought, that was normally the way to go, but I decided to, buy this. And, I am a content creator. I make videos, as you can tell, and, I've been using various methods for making my videos. In fact, right now I have my DJI Osmos Pocket 3 recording this, because I need to actually show you my phone, and I can't do that while recording. But, I did forego the three cameras. I forego the, the telephoto, the macro abilities. But I will tell you, even though I did not have the best phone, or the phone with the most features, it got me. It was very good. In fact, it's been very reliable. It's been very sturdy. And as you can see, I don't have a case on this, and it's been dropped several times. I try to be as careful as I can be, And sometimes I put it in somebody else's hands and they drop it. And then sometimes it'll fall out of my pocket, because I've been starting to put my phone in my back pocket. So, anyway, these are very durable phones. They're much better than they used to be, where the glass was always cracked, very easily. And, when they made the phones with the glass back and the front, that was, and I think maybe this is one of those. Those are very delicate. But having said all that, I've enjoyed my iPhone 13, but the reason why I felt like I needed to upgrade, and I really didn't want to. I mean, I don't need all the nice features that the phones of today have. But my biggest problem is my battery level just wasn't keeping the charge well enough, and I would have to charge it several times a day, in my car or otherwise, just to make sure I had enough to get me through the whole day. Because when I say I'm a power user, I mean, I use it all day for business. I use it for calls, texting, social media, content. I make content, I edit some videos, like shorts and stuff on here. And I've been using a lot of AI software in recent months. So, when you start using all of those features and then my notes and everything that I take, when I do orders for my clients, it takes a lot of power, and it just is not getting me through the day. So, my wife was in agreement that, yes, it's probably about time for me to make the upgrade. And I didn't really want to do it this time of year because, Christmas is always the time where you just don't seem, to want to spend the money because you're buying Christmas gifts and all of that and everything else that comes along with the holidays. The last thing I wanted to do was buy a phone, and then we most recently had to buy a new washing machine. So, this was the last thing I wanted to do, but it just made sense. And then also, I got to keep this on the down low. My wife really wanted my son to have a phone of his own, but I don't want to spend the money for a brand new phone when basically all he's going to be using it for is just to, play his games and watch YouTube videos. And, he's been lately grabbing my wife's phone, and she has a Galaxy. So this is what's the crazy part is she's Galaxy or Samsung, and then, now I'm all Apple. So we don't have the nicety of being able to communicate and have all the same things with our iPhones because she refuses to have an iPhone. But she's got the big old S23, I believe it is. So it's it's a big phone. But anyway, that's why she wanted me to make the upgrade because when you trade these older phones in, they just don't give you a lot. And even if it's a couple $100 to me, this phone is worth way more than a couple $100. I mean, my cameras and everything work. It still has storage and all of that. It can do anything a regular iPad can do for the most part, but it's a little compact device. So my wife had the idea of just giving this to my son for Christmas. So we're going to get a new case for it and make it look like his own. And that's one of the reasons why she was on board with it. But ordinarily she wouldn't be because who wants to spend that kind of money for a phone? But the big question was, which phone should I get? I'm always in the belief, don't buy older technology. So none of the older phones, even the 16 or 15 that are only a couple years old, I really wanted to get the latest because, in my mind, I'm always thinking, well, should I wait for the next one? Well, there'll always be a time where the next one will be right around the corner, and it'll have features what you have doesn't have. And, so you can't just keep putting the purchase off to wait for the next greatest thing because there's always going to be something around the corner. So I decided to go ahead and make the plunge this year. And so the big question was, which iPhone 17 to get? And, when I actually used AI to kind of, give me some good ideas on what I should choose based on my use case. So I told it that I'm a content creator. I do a lot of videos. I'm using it all day long. Battery life is very important to me. and yada, yada, yada. Bottom line is, it said I should go for the iPhone 17 Pro Max, the big one. So I was all set to do that. So I go to the store. I went to Costco, to their kiosk, which is a T-Mobile kiosk, and they're company owned, by the way, and or corporate owned. So there's a big difference on going to an authorized reseller versus a corporate. He says you always want to go corporate. But anyway, I started looking at the phones, and I had a really good salesperson. I've been there before, and I was just getting these kids. They didn't seem like they knew what they were doing. They didn't really care about helping me with my needs. But this guy, I think his name is Luke. He was just a really good sales guy, and he wasn't pushy or anything like that. And being since I'm in sales, I don't like being pushed upon either. So this is why I try to treat my customers with the same respect, because nobody wants a pushy salesperson. And so when I realized, he was really trying to help me, I decided, hey, okay, let's do this thing. So then I had to choose, and I asked him what he recommended, and he said it really depends on how you're going to use it and everything. And the problem is with these phones that are in the store, they're actually attached to a device where you can't lift them off. And to me, that's not a great way to buy a phone, because you really have to hold it in your hand. And he did unlock it, and but it was still tethered. But this is the key in buying a new phone. And I would recommend anybody in my age range and up do this before you buy a phone. Ask to have one, whether it's working or not. The same phone, you want to be able to put it in your pocket. You want to be able to hold it for a little bit. Stay in there in the store and hold that phone. And so they didn't have one where I can actually pick it up, but the sales guy did. So he let me borrow his phone with his case and everything. And so he had an iPhone Pro Max. I think it was a 16, but it wasn't much different. Maybe it was a 17. I don't know. But he let me borrow that for a little bit. And when I was all set and ready to go and buy the iPhone Pro Max, because it looks so good. It's a nice big screen. It's very bright, very crisp. It's the one with the longest battery life. It's got all the features. I mean, if you want all of the features, the latest greatest cameras and all of that, the processor, the whole 9 yards, iPhone Pro Max is the way to go. But it isn't, and this is the reason why. When I picked up that big phone and put it in my pocket and started holding it for a while, even though it's just a little bit bigger than my old iPhone. I mean, when I say a little bit bigger, when you put mine on top of that one, it's just a little tiny bit bigger, as far as like maybe a ½ inch bigger, all the way around. But it just felt heavy. And one of the things I think about is, I see a lot of my clients, all the women, they seem to have like the iPhone Pro Max, whatever version they have. And I see these big honker phones in their hand. They can barely hold on to them. And everybody is talking about, well, you got to put a case on it because you're going to drop it. Well, the reason why they drop it is because the phone is too darn big. And, the older we get, we need things to be easier. Now, I will tell you, when I started looking at this, I asked the guy, I said, well, I really like the way I hold on to this phone, my iPhone 13. Well, he said the iPhone Pro, just the Pro version, not the Max, is roughly the same size. And you know what? It is. So here's my phone, and the Pro is right behind it. And you can see it's pretty much the same. It's the same size phone. It's a little tiny thicker, a little bit heavier, but not much heavier. But the biggest key thing here is, the newer phone is brighter and crisper. and it's so much faster. So yeah, I guess you already know by now, I chose the Pro instead of the Pro Max. And he thought it was a good choice because he said, you're not really losing much by keeping the Pro versus the Pro Max. The biggest thing that you're going to be trading off is for $100 difference, going for the Pro Max, um, you're going to get the larger screen. And there might be one or two other things. Oh, and longer battery life. Because it's such a bigger phone, I think it has like, I don't know, 5 to 8 hours longer runtime versus the regular Pro. But I'll tell you, that's the phone I went with. I went with the iPhone Pro, and I went with silver. Even though they had all those other nice colors, I like the silver because I almost dropped it because I read somewhere where the other ones are painted. So if I ever decide to not have the case on it, if I do get a scratch, it's not gonna like remove paint. At least that's what I've been told. So I don't plan on taking that chance. I do have a case on the way. It should be arriving anytime today. But you can see that compared to what I had before, I got quite a bit bigger camera bump. But what I liked about it is now this bump is across the entire width, so you don't get that wobble that you get with the regular phones. And so I got the 3 cameras. Haven't really used them yet much. You get the telephoto lens, you get the macro capability. Most people may not even have the need for that. But if you're a content creator, one of the nice things that I like about it is that when they have a better camera on the front and better cameras on the back. But the biggest thing is whenever you need to make a landscape video, you're videoing like this. But the problem is your camera, your front-facing camera is on one end of the camera. And so when you're trying to record, your eyes tend to look at you, being in the picture instead of that camera. So it always makes you look like you're looking away. And that's not desirable because you always want to make sure that you're looking at the camera. Like I have a little screen right here with this, but I'm less likely to, focus on this little screen versus this camera right here. So what they've done this year is that they've basically have a feature in here so you can record straight up and down like this, but you have an option so that when you want to make a landscape video, which is horizontal, you can still record with this phone vertical. So in fact, you can still look at the camera as if you always did, and you have more of a chance of looking directly at the camera than the old way. So I wanted to show you an example. So this is actually a clip that I'm making on the new iPhone Pro 17. And I'm using the landscape format, although the phone is in a vertical position. And there's just so many nice features with the new version. I just like how they have the liquid glass. You can just see how it kind of looks like glass that blends in. Some people didn't like it when, I've watched videos about people giving their 2 cents on that. And, you can go back to the old way because they have the options for that. But I just like, everything that I had before on my phone, I still have. The transfer from my old phone to my new was almost painless. I mean, there's a few passwords that it didn't transfer, and also I've noticed my my Bluetooth connections for the options that I had on my phone. The only thing that kept was my my iPod, earphones. So I'll have to reprogram those, but otherwise, it's been really good. Like I said, I haven't used the camera yet, but you can see, this is just the video part. No, that's the photo, And the video is like this. You can do dual capture too, so like you have a picture-in-picture. I've got a lot to play with, and so far, like I said, it's been really good. There's some upgraded features on just about everything, but when I was looking at AI and having it do a comparison between the 13 and the 17 Pro, they said it's a significant jump in features and benefits compared to going from a 13 to a 17. One of the biggest things and the most important thing I think is for most people my age or older, you've got, a nice, easy to hold, lightweight phone. Also, I will tell you that the edges are more rounded compared to more of a boxy look on my old phone. It's not that much heavier. I would rather have it be a little heavier and have the longer battery life, which it does. So the first day, my battery, drained quicker than I had expected. But what was happening is it was still downloading from iCloud all my old information. So it took a lot of power doing that. But like yesterday, I went through the whole day, not even, I didn't use my phone like I do normally during the week, but I was using it all day, off and on, watching videos and this and that, and even at the end of the night, I still had over 60% left on my phone, which I couldn't have done with my old phone. So I thought that was definitely the thing that's really beneficial for me. So you have a longer battery life, faster processor. This also has, instead of 60 hertz refresh rate, it has a variable refresh rate up to 120 hertz. So, when you use these, when you scroll and when you open things and all the animations, everything is so much smoother. Whereas the old phone that I had, the regular iPhone, was a 60 hertz version. And I think in the 17 is the same way, but I could be mistaken. But yeah, to me, those are the biggest things. Oh, and another thing is, if I'd even gone back 1 year to buy maybe a 16, and you would think that would be a better choice, but no, it's not, because what they did this year, they actually doubled the onboard memory for the storage. So I used to have 128, now I have 256 as the standard storage, and I had room left over on my previous phone with 128. So when I asked him about that, he said, "Look at your storage and see what you're using now." And I was like right around half, and he said, "Oh, you're good to go. You've got you're not even using the full capacity now." And so I've just basically doubled my storage. So all the videos that I do, I can keep more on my phone and not have to worry about running out of storage. Also, the memory that the phone uses to multitask and do all the internal memory, it used to be, I want to say, 4 gigabytes of RAM, and this one went up to 12. So that's like, 3 times greater RAM than what I had before. So, and plus the camera megapixels are a lot more on the front and the back. And of course, the fact that it had the upgraded cameras, which, I haven't even had the benefit of using since I've had an iPhone. So now I'm going to have some fun playing with the cameras. Now I have Zoom, so whenever I need to use Zoom, I can do Zoom, and it's more of an optical zoom, so it's not going to be pixelated. And just all the fun features that come with this. I just think for somebody my age or older, I'm 63, I just felt it important to have something more manageable. And look, I mean, when I look at this phone, I don't really notice the difference of the fact that it's a smaller phone. It's really bright. It's really crisp. It looks like I'm watching in high definition, like my TV. It's so crisp. Oh, and the sound is incredible. I have great sound with this. Here's one of my AI videos.
And welcome. I am so excited you're here because today we're diving into something brand new, something global,
Listen
and
how
something the hair
loud
industry
that
has
is.
never seen before. This tiny little shape I'm holding in my hands is about to turn hair drying upside down. Let me
So even when you're hard of hearing, I think it's got plenty of power, to get you through the day. I'm going to be doing a deep dive into like a lot of the other features that I think make a big difference. I've also noticed that my Notes app has had an upgrade too. So whether you have the new phone or not, the iOS, as long as it's supported by your phone, the good news is you're always going to have the latest features as far as that goes. Now, my old phone did not have the capability to have Apple artificial intelligence or AI. Um, my new one does, but honestly, I haven't really did much with that because I already have Chat GTP, I have Gemini, and I have some other AI type programs, which they all do the job for what I need to do. So you don't really need to have that. I'm sure Apple AI will get better as time goes on, and it'll be more integrated into the whole ecosystem. But for now, it wasn't even a point of a difference for me. It didn't matter one way or the other if it had AI or not. But the biggest thing was the battery life, the speed, the storage, all of that stuff. And the fact that it just looks and feels so good, and I'm not losing. I'm not having to relearn anything because it's basically the same size as my other phone. It's just slightly different in size, so I can't use my old case. As you can see, it's just a little bit longer. It's about the same width as the previous one, but man, I think if you're in the market for one of these, you know, and you're over 40, this to me is the most comfortable, most future-proof iPhone this year that you can get without buying the top end, and know that you're going to be able to handle it. Yeah, you're not going to have to worry about dropping it as much. You don't really need the Pro Max, no matter what anybody else out there tells you. This one is plenty powerful. It does everything that the Pro Max does, just about, except for a couple maybe minor things that is not even the big deal. Um, so if you haven't gotten a new phone, or maybe if you have one that's quite a few years old, think about upgrading. But you don't need to upgrade. You don't need to upgrade to be able to make videos. Whatever you have is more than likely enough. But if you have the extra money and you've been thinking about upgrading, hopefully you'll take my advice, because I'm certain that you'll be perfectly happy with this. And if you don't need all of these features, go ahead and just get the regular iPhone. I would caution you against the Air though, because the Air, from what I've seen, it is super lightweight, but the battery life is just not that great. So that's the biggest downside. If you like this video, please like and share it, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already done so. I'm going to be making more videos like this on the iPhone 17 Pro, and just an iPhone in general, because I think it's an invaluable tool to help people over 40 make more money as a side hustle and help them grow their YouTube channel. It's an invaluable tool that if you only have your iPhone, you can make it on YouTube. So I appreciate you watching. Take care and have a great day.